So hello and welcome to this Eurovision All-Star reunion with many of the Ireland and UK stars of the show. So let's start by introducing everybody on. So we've got the brilliant Marc Roberts. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Lewis.
Thanks for coming on today. We've got Andy Abraham who's joined us on the show. Hello.
Hey, good.
Nice to see you. And we've got Daz Sampson. It's great to have you on, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more of you in Eurovision this year.
You never know, Lewis. You never know.
Fingers crossed. It's looking that way.
That's not what everybody thinks.
We got the brilliant Terry Dobson from Black Lace, of course, back in the 70s that you represent us. We'll be chatting to you in just a moment. Somebody who loved it so much, she went back twice. It's the brilliant Niamh Kavanagh. Hello.
Hey, Ma. Hi, how are you?
Really good. Thank you for joining us.
I was at Mark's as well.
It's true.
We've got the brilliant Gemma from Jemini.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Gemma.
We got the lovely Nicki French has joined us as well. How are you?
Hi. I'm good, thank you, Lewis.
And we got the legend, that is, I think 1970. So you've beat everyone in regards to the duration since you were last on. It's Dana.
Hiya.
Hello.
Woo.
We've got the brilliant, always so stylish, David from Scooch is on the call as well. How are you?
I'm very well, in an Asda George top. That's stylish. Hello, hello everyone. Hello,
How are you?
We've got the brilliant Paul Harrington. Hello.
Hello, and it's lovely to be with you all.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we've got we've established not retired. Mickey Joe Hart's joining us on the reunion as well.
Yeah, I'm trying not to stay unretired as long as I can. So yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Everything's good.
So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you some questions individually about your experience on the show and just talk about the great that is Eurovision. So let's start off with the brilliant Marc Roberts in his nice studio in the background there.
Hey, thanks, Lewis. Yeah, good to be here. Good to be anywhere with the way things are.
I mean, I've got to say, obviously, when you were on the show, it was the last time we won it in the UK. I mean, you came second, we came first with Katrina. So tell us, going back to the day for you, such a big moment. Ireland have notoriously done well in the show. Does that give you extra kind of nerves when you're going to perform, the fact that Ireland have such a record? Yeah.
Absolutely. It was just unreal in that sense, because we had won it for the 3-4 years previously, and everybody kept telling me this is amazing, we could do it again, and everybody in RTE, the national broadcaster, was saying don't, we can't afford it. So it was like, what do I do? And I knew it was going to be a stepping stone for me personally in my career, so I obviously wanted to win it, but by coming second we kind of proved that we could win it again, but it was about time you won it. So we said, no, we let the UK win.
We needed it. It was years prior that we won it. But I mean, Eurovision is such a legendary thing, and once you appear on it, it seems that you just become famous forever, because each year you're always getting asked to do something, because Eurovision is such a phenomenon. So did you ever anticipate when you were doing the show that years later you would still be kind of this legend of Eurovision?
Well, I knew when I was doing it that it was such a big deal, because I'd always watched it as a kid with my folks at home. In fact, my lasting memory of sitting in the green room was my dad saying, and I was about 6 years old, and Ireland kept getting 12, and we were like, we're going to win. And my dad always kept saying, it is a long way to go. So every time the camera came on to me that we got really good votes, I was still there kind of going, is this going to mean anything in the overall thing? So yeah, I did know it was big, but as you said, I mean, 1997 is a couple of years ago. Yeah, it is nice to be remembered for something. And as usual, the same as anybody that's here in the room, it's such an honor to represent your country. Something that, you know, that we're so honored to get the chance to do. So.
And does it, in a way, does it change your life? Because I know a lot of you are known prior to Eurovision, but I mean, the audience that watches the show, it's unimaginable. You don't get that with anything else. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions. So does it kind of catapult you to a new level of fame?
It does. And for me personally, I was being signed by a record company and they were taking forever. And I had released a new single and I just got really tired of them. And I said, I can't handle this crap anymore. I need to just do this. And I had demoed the song. And then all of a sudden the song got through and I just rang them up and said, I'm doing this. I don't care what you think, whether it's a good plan, because you have no plan. And this is my plan. So I did the song. And then when it got through the day before Eurovision, Niamh will remember because she was there with me through the whole thing. I signed my record deal that morning and a publishing deal. And a week later, I was in the UK doing Richard and Judy and a couple of the top TV shows. So, I mean, so I knew then that it was as big as it was, you know, it just, and even to this day, when I'd walk into some place, I have friends that work in BBC and you walk in the door and somebody says, this guy came second in Eurovision. Everybody starts Googling and checking YouTube. And, you look like David Essex, you had long hair. It's like, why'd you cut it? It's like, ah.
So what's life been like for you since the show? I mean, what are you doing now? Because we caught up just before we came on and I know you do your own radio show as well now and you do some TV projects.
Yeah, and I was always a singer-songwriter. That's something I've always done. So I ended up touring Australia with Daniel O'Donnell, signed to the same record company as him in Australia. And I got him writing songs because he'd never written anything. And we've had quite a lot of success. We've had about 4 albums that I've written songs for, including one that went top 20 in the UK pop charts, a song called Crush on You. So I've always done that. I've also a new song that it's been covered by a Scottish group called Jubilee. They went to #8 in the UK charts before Christmas in the album charts. They're amazing. They're well worth checking out. So I do that. I have my own radio program on Spotlight TV, which goes out across Europe, and I have the radio program. So I get bored very easily. I like to keep busy. I like to do lots of things. So that's kind of what I do. It's as many things as I can.
Well, we had Andy Abraham was clapping just then when you were mentioning your music. So I think you've got a fan in Andy.
Good man, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think it's wonderful that you know, a lot of people seem to think doing big shows like X Factor and all of that, you know, it's the end of everything. Do you know what I mean? Whether you do well or not, you know. But it's your own motivation, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And it's whatever's with inside you. And I know the one thing I do know, because my wife's Irish, you know, the Irish have music running through them like for days. So, you know, for years, for decades, for centuries, you know what I mean? So it's just ingrained in the country.
Yeah, and then for me personally, always people ask me the question. All of us that are here, I would safely say most of us, but I know all of our Irish entrants and people that represented Ireland, we all had careers before Eurovision, all of us that did well. And as Joe Hart mentioned earlier on, I mean, he's still recording like the rest of us and writing great songs. We've always done that, but we used Eurovision, I think, as a little stepping stone. And that's it. You know, we saw what we had career-wise, and this was use it to your advantage, and that's just the way it is, you know.
Well, I mean, Ireland had a Eurovision legends in the name of Jedward, who did the show twice. I mean, what did you all think of Jedward? Because I know they have a kind of they get a negative reaction here in the UK, but I think they kind of represent everything that Eurovision is, which is fun, excitement, and outrageous fashion. I mean, did you kind of like the track from them?
I thought Lipstick was a really great, you know, pop song. And I thought, and I know that I've met the guys several times. Obviously, you can't be involved in the Eurovision Club and not meet them, you know, or meet nearly everybody. And they work really hard. You know, whatever you think of them or whatever you feel, they work hard at what they do. They care about what they do. So I would never diss them for that. I think that they did a good job. And, you know, to be honest, they were nearly our highest qualifier in the last God knows how long. So you can't really say anything. You know, people have identified with it. The zeitgeist could have made them win it. You just never know what it is going to be. So everybody has their value. We all come from different churches. Eurovision is like a huge church, and there's lots of people come from different places, you know. So we all just do what we do, you know.
Well, Niamh, we're going to we're going to chat to you now because, well, we need to make sure your chicken is safe in the oven at the moment.
I'm very concerned about the chicken, you know.
That's not a euphemism.
No. You know, I'm a mom. I'm a mommy at the end of the day, and you know, I feed people. I feed the 5,000. I've done that since I was about 11, so that's the way it is. You know, I can't help myself. But
There's me thinking it was a pet you had.
Well, it's not too far off of Paul, you know yourself. So what do you want to know, Lewis?
Well, I mean, it's fair to say that you are a Eurovision legend. I mean, people that love the show and the fan club members, they do deem you as one of the most powerful voices in Eurovision. I mean, you definitely have. When you were performing and you found out that you were going to represent your country, first of all, how did that feel to know that you were going to stand there and represent your country? Because that must give you such a feeling of pride.
Yeah, 100%. Funnily enough, I was a little bit reluctant initially because I had done the commitments before that and was doing a lot of session work and really loved what I was doing. Eurovision wasn't on the radar, although I loved it and watched it every year, and whatever. And the music industry is quite small in Ireland, so we always know everybody, and it's so exciting. But I never thought I would end up there, no more than I did think that I'd end up singing soul music for Alan Parker. To be honest with you, I was doing a nice little dance band thing for years, and then suddenly I was thrust into that. But Jimmy Walsh, actually, who wrote the song, rang me and asked me to come and sing the song, and I said his song was accepted, because we all know that's the way it works. The song gets accepted, and whoever sings it it's either somebody who actually writes it or a hired voice, which would be what I was. And I had worked with Brendan Graham just before that, and he basically asked me to come and sing for Jimmy, and I was going, well, I'm not sure, send me the song. I loved the song, thought it was really great, and so that's actually the main motivator. So I said yes to that about a week before they announced the order of the show for the Eurovision qualifier, the Eurosong. So we had no track, no backing singers, no nothing, just me going, holy God, what am I going to do? So that was kind of my entry in. And on the night of the Eurosong, I wasn't sure that we were going to win. We were first on. It was a great song, really loved it, but I didn't think that I would, despite my thigh-high boots, above the thigh and body stocking. I didn't think I was going to win it, and sure enough, we did win, which was shocking. I wasn't prepared for it really, because I didn't expect it to win, and went upstairs into the upper area of the point after winning the Eurosong to meet the Eurovision fan club, and I think that's the first real experience that I knew what I was getting involved in, and I have never looked back since. It's like my favorite house to visit. I come and I visit the house and I love it. I love every minute of it, because it's completely manic when you go in, and at the same time you can go away and do your own thing separate, which is really fab. And I love that we meet so many varied people involved in it, and such great talent all the time. And we always have great fun when we get together, which is the biggest thing. I think the voice part of it, I feel like I shout at people all the time, so I'm kind of keen to maybe do some songs that I don't shout at people so much. But yeah, no, I really loved it, and actually I really loved the second time I went back. So to me, both the experiences were as important, because I went back in 2010, went to Oslo, had an amazing time. I won one, didn't win the other. We qualified, but we didn't do so well, I suppose, overall. But you can be 11th on everybody's list and get no points, so that's the way it is. I've worked on the jury. I think I've done nearly everything except the one thing that I now want to do with Eurovision, which is go to it without singing, so I can actually party.
And just enjoy it without the work.
Because it seems to me there's a lot of party goes on, but unfortunately as a singer, you're not allowed to be involved.
You know how to party, Niamh.
Oh, no way. I would never do that, Nikki. I'm a good girl, I am.
Absolutely. You did in my year.
Oh, I did. And actually, not only your year, but I was actually really, really blessed. My favorite Eurovision memory is sitting on the sofa beside Paul Harrington and Charlie McGettigan and Brendan Graham the year they won, which was the year after me. They were that in my moment. That's definitely my favorite Eurovision song. No offense to anybody else, but I love it. I loved the whole concept of it. I loved everything about it. And I absolutely was sitting beside to my great friends winning this and doing an amazing job. You know that, Paul. You know, I always say that, but it's true.
Very, very nice of you to say so.
To me, that was nearly more exciting than mine, because actually when you're in the maelstrom and somebody's going through the votes, you don't really care. You want it to be done. I mean, you knew halfway through, Paul, that you'd won. I was right down to the very last vote. I didn't care who won at that point. I just said, get it over with, for God's sake. There's their shot. Because Linda had won the year before, there wasn't the same pressure. You know, I didn't feel the same pressure of winning. I just had to sing well enough that we would do well. That's all I cared about. And unlike you, Mark, I didn't have the record contract. Actually, nobody would record our song. So actually, myself, Brendan and Jimmy paid to record In Your Eyes, and then we sold it for a shed load of cash to Arista afterwards. So that was a good day.
Brilliant.
So, you know, it was an unexpected win. Thank you. But it was an unexpected win, and in every way. But wonderful, wonderful experience. I absolutely loved it, all of it, and I could do it again, only to be there and to experience. But to be fair, there's such great talent, young talent that should be going. I heard you say earlier on, and I'm sorry to keep talking, that, you know, there's something about Eurovision every year. The gift is that keeps on giving. Every year we get wheeled out. We get wheeled out at the same time, especially the 7 of us winners. We get wheeled out, and we almost as a group. It's like we live in the same house. It's lovely, and we love it. We absolutely love seeing each other. It's such a joyous thing to be together in this space. But actually, you know, at the end of the day, there's such great talent coming up, and I would love to see them, young people, really engaging with Eurovision, because a platform of hundreds of millions of people seeing what you do, it doesn't matter what it is you do, you should just go out and own it. I'd just love to see more of that. Anyway, that's not it. Sorry.
Oh, do you know, the year you won it, I was actually born.
I just want to kill myself now.
I
can't believe you said that, Lewis. You know, really?
It's really made us all feel old.
I think it's time to take out the chicken.
I can't believe you said that. Listen, I know you're born after me, but it's not the point. Right? To me, in my head, everybody's the same age as me, right? Either very young, very old, or the same age as me. Like, you know, Rosemary's the same age as me, aren't you, Rosemary? I mean, you definitely
absolutely.
100%. I mean, she looks it, to be fair. But you know, but you know what I'm saying. We're just. Lewis, you're after killing me now. There, 93. So I know exactly how old you are now. I know exactly.
What I wanted to ask though, in regards to going back, when you win the show, you know, a lot of people would say, was that a risk? Because people know you as a winner with such an iconic track, and then to go back, you know, you've won the show. So the only way is to maintain or drop in regards to the points. So were you ever kind of dubious about doing it again, or did you just embrace it and thought, no, I want to do this, I want the experience again?
I think it depends why you do it. I mean, if you're going back to win it, obviously we all want to win it. There's hardly anybody gets involved in it, goes in, I'm just here to take part. That's rubbish, right? We all want to win. But at the end of the day, we want to go and represent ourselves. And what I felt at that point, because for years and years, people ask you, you know, why would you go back? You go back because you love the song, because you get to represent. And I felt that year, I got to sing a song and sing it in the way that I wanted to sing it, to present it. All right, the dress might have been a bit more blingy than I would normally be. I'm normally a jeans and boot guard. But the point is, you get to stand on a stage and experience something and represent yourself. And at that point, I'd had 2 children. I was, you know, a bit further down the line. And to me, I felt it was a great opportunity to go in and do something and represent a song in a brilliant way. And that's exactly what I did. I was prepared to go out at the national level, let alone the Eurovision. Because you have absolutely zero control over whatever the zeitgeist takes it, that's it. You know, you have no control. You 40 odd countries voting in whatever way they want. That's the way it is. And so I didn't care. I felt we did what we needed to do, and where it mattered, people really loved it. And I still get great reaction to It's For You, and they still love the whole concept. So to me, I'm as proud of that moment as I am as 93. It's a little less stressful in some ways, because I didn't have to kind of try and go out without, you know, any makeup on my face and try and sing the song again at the end. That's a bit of a thing. And they never tell you what to do when you win either. You know, you just kind of stand there like a muppet. And I totally, I missed the award ceremony because I went to the wrong side, because they don't tell you what to do if you win. You just kind of practice so much about all the stuff to get to do your performance, but not this is what happens when you win. So I don't care. Both of them are great for me. So I didn't actually feel that anything is a failure. When I decide to do something, I do it, I commit to it, and I do it well. So the way I judge it is how I feel. Yeah. If I've done it well, if I'd gone out and sung really bad, then that would have been a sad thing. But, you know, it doesn't mean that it doesn't define you in every way. Just who you are in that moment is really what it's about. And you have 3 minutes to own it. And I felt I did. So it didn't really matter to me whether we won or not. It's down to whether somebody picks up a phone and rings, you know, and votes for you or not. That's it.
Well, we got some more questions we're going to ask you in just a moment. We're going to bring one of our UK representatives. Daz Sampson's on the show. How are you?
Hello, mate.
Good to have you on the show. I mean,
I'm all right.
I mean, it's good to have you on the show. Many of us know your track was so Eurovision. I loved it. It was catchy. You had the dance routines. It was one of those that I think when you think about UK and Eurovision, it's one of those great tracks. I mean, when you first heard it, what were your thoughts on the song?
Well, I wrote it, so I heard it in my head first. Yeah,
because it's so different to what you've done before. Because I know your previous music from some of the projects that you've worked on and in bands, so it seems so different, but it's so catchy and infectious.
Yeah, it's a shame the rest of Europe didn't agree on the night. By the way, before I go any further, if my dear old mother, who's from Cookstown, County Tyrone, was alive today, she'd be so proud that I'm on the same show as Dana. She used to love him. So
yeah, I can include my dad. I can include my dad in that as well. So
because I'm actually from Cookstown. Obviously, I don't sound like it because we moved to Manchester when I was 2. So I've got a lot of family over there. So I've got a lot of connections to both north and south. So yeah, so in terms of the song, I wrote the song 2 or 3 years before Eurovision. I was a footballer at first, and I had that taken away from me because of injury. And from there, I went into club DJing, and I've always had a penchant for Eurovision since the Bucks Fizz days and all the old days, and to get the chance to go was amazing. For me, being obviously a massive football fan and an ex-player, it was like the World Cup final for me. Obviously, the result didn't go very well, but that's the only thing I would change about it. Everything else, I think we did the best we could. Europe just didn't embrace it. They weren't ready for rap. But at least, you know, at the end of the day, I'm one of only about 50 or 60 people who can say they've done that for the UK. No one can take that away from them.
And we were talking then that you're hoping to actually return to Eurovision this year, and it's looking likely at the moment.
Yeah, it's you know, it's funny because I know Nicki French is on. I bumped into Nicki at a show in Blackpool.
That's right.
A couple of I think it was last year actually. And I said to her,
3 years ago, yeah.
I said, would you ever go back? And she went, yeah. I think I don't know. I'd had a few drinks. I think I mentioned, well, I'm planning to go back, but not for the UK. I can't remember it. I don't know. It was Blackpool, so we indulged. Come on.
Yeah,
so,
you did. You said to me, well, you had. I think you'd been partaking of the backstage libations, and you did say to me, "Would you ever go back?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely." And then you said, "Well, I've got a song for you. I've got a song. Get in touch. I've got a song for you."
I don't remember that bit. It must have been strong.
Yeah, you did. But I did realise that you were enjoying yourself. So yeah. I thought, well, I'd better leave it for now. So
okay.
Yes.
But I do remember that. So yeah. So basically, I went to Belarus in 2019, and basically I got a call on a Monday off an agent and said they're looking for songs in Belarus. I said, oh yeah, I've got one. It's a song that I wrote, Kinky Boots, which is very I'm a 90s man, so I don't change it. You know, I'm proud of my 90s influence in my songs. So basically, he said, yeah, the problem is you've got 2 days because the auditions are in 2 days. So the singer that was singing on it never even heard the song. I wrote it for her previously 2 years before, and there was rumours that a Japanese girl band were going to take it. So I obviously, you know, if you give the song away too soon, you could end up losing money. And at the end of the day, I'm a songwriter for a living, so I have to be careful where I play songs. Long story short, I met the girl who was singing that night at the airport in Minsk. No run through from the airport straight to the audition. One word, actually 2 words: car crash. And but I knew within seconds, as soon as the music starts, and obviously she stood next to me, I knew we ain't coming through here. So we tried to salvage the best we could. But I knew as soon as I stepped off the stage that I wanted to go back there. I love Belarus. So what I've done is I've teamed up with Katia Ocean, who's like, she's almost like the Zoe Ball of Belarus. She has her own radio show, that type of thing. So I've teamed up with her, and we're through to the pre-selection for Belarus this year with a track called Give You Love. So fingers crossed that I might get to try and put the wrongs right.
Well, good. And you say put the wrongs right, but I mean, for us with Teenage Life, the UK fans loved it, that's for sure, and it does live on. The performance on YouTube, the amount of people that still watch it and leave comments, because it had everything: the cheesy dance, the outfits, the chorus hook that's just addictive. So it is a legendary song. Definitely.
Yeah. The thing is, you know, I do cop a lot of stick, which is fine, because first and foremost, I love the competition, and I love the fact that it's all cultures, it's all genres, and every year, like the guys in saying, it comes around and we get rolled out in our wheelchairs to give an opinion, etc., etc. And you know, it's like, for me, it's interesting because I speak to a lot of, you know, people of, I will say, sort of my era, so like, you know, from like Andy and Jemini, and you know, given the opportunity to go back and maybe put the wrongs right, if you like, I think most people would, because it's such a massive experience. People say to me, what's it like? Well, it is. It's like, I mean, obviously football analogy again, it's like being signed for Manchester United for me. It's just, you know, it's like, it was just an amazing experience. And that's why, you know, and I've tried before as a writer, but this, I think, is the final time I'm going to try before I hang the pen up.
And
Eurovision pen.
Well, good luck, and we're all rooting for you. And talking of catchy songs, you've got the brilliant David from Scooch, and I love this performance because it was camp, it was everything that you would expect. The outfits. I mean, David, how would you sum up your Eurovision experience?
Our Eurovision experience was totally unexpected for, I think, the three of us, apart from Russ, the blonde guy in the group. He kind of had been in the UK final selection show the year before, and I remember he called us up after it and said, you know, if this was a goal, would you three be up for it? Because we were around in the 90s, and then, you know, we were a gigging band, you know, on the LGBT scene, but we weren't a recording band as such. So as you do, you know, when your mate rings you up and asks for a favour, you just say yes. And then it was Valentine's Day, 2007, when he rang up and said, right, we're in the selection show, but we didn't actually have a song. So it was weird to be entering a song competition without a song. So Russ said, oh, we've got that song that we never released. We had a demo version of the song, played it to the BBC. Their words were, it's too good. Have you got anything else? And any performer always knows you just say yes. And yes, I have. I'll sort it out. And then I was on a train about 2 weeks later, driving down a train. I wasn't driving the train. I was on a train sitting. There was a driver driving, just to clarify that, on a train to London. And by the time I arrived, flying the flag, the kind of bada bit and the chorus had been written. I think it was the Eurojet in-flight announcements printed off, and Russ just said, say those in as camp and as cheeky as you possibly can. Did that, and then sent it to the BBC. I think it arrived on the Friday. They said, brilliant, can we hear the rest of the song? So another train journey back to London where the song was written. So it was it's bizarre, the story behind the song, because it was crafted, you know, especially for Eurovision, but it wasn't even like a Scooch song. It wasn't the Scooch sound of the 90s. It was something very, very different. So it was a whirlwind 4 months for me personally. You know, I had gone back into education as a mature student because I always wanted to teach. So I had to, kind of defer my final year at uni and go and be a Eurovision pop star again, and then go back to real life, just as people have mentioned here, and continue with the journey. But it was fantastic. I always think anything for me with Scooch is just like getting together with three friends, and that's the best bit of it. You know, Eurovision was amazing. I think everybody here would do it again. We all would. You know, we're performers. We've got egos, haven't we, at the end of the day? But I think at the same time, it's always a great opportunity to get together with three people who I love, you know, that they're family. And I think if you've ever been in a group, you'll hopefully, apart from the Spice Girls. We genuinely are 4 very, very good friends. So it was amazing. And any opportunity that we get to be together, whether it be from Scooch in the 90s and definitely Eurovision, which I think has kept the shelf life, open for us. It was one of the best things I think we'd all see. And it was probably the only thing from Scooch where we made some money, because in the 90s we certainly didn't.
I mean, up to the lead up to your performance, there was some controversy around the song and your, Scooch, because there were people saying the song sounded similar to another song, and then there was questions asked about the performance on the making your mind up bit. Did that ever take away the experience, in any part for you to have controversy surrounding it?
Not at all. I loved every minute of it because you just got more inches and papers. So you couldn't buy that kind of advertising. You want the spotlight on you. It's a competition. So
there's no bad pressure, there isn't.
Not at all. I mean, we laughed bits off. We never worried about it. We had I think I was one of the 4 who entered the competition to win. The other 3 went along for the ride. Natalie just wanted to sing again. That amazing sound that she's got. Mm-hmm. I've always been the probably the business one of the 4 of us, the one who sits down. We've got to have a plan. We've got to have a strategy. Yeah. This is what we've got to do. That kind of contributor. I loved it. I just thought this is more people talking about us, and more people are going to want to ask about us. Kind of across Europe. So it was definitely a kind of feather in the cap.
Do you still have your costume?
Do you know what? I'm the only one who does. I've got 2.
Wow.
In the room next door, and my other half entered a competition to dress up as a Eurovision star. I didn't even know about this. Just entered this competition with the on. I was like, what are you doing? Why have you put that on? And won. Can you believe it?
Brilliant.
It sounds like you got great fond memories, of your experience. So what are you doing now? What do you do to keep busy?
I've always been, up until I still am a jobbing performer, but like any performer will tell you, that doesn't always pay the bills. So very early on in my career, I made a switch and taught. So last year would have been at my 20th year. I have a theatre school which I'm a principal and director of, so I do that. As a performer behind the scenes, I've always struggled with my weight, believe it or not. So I joined a slimming organisation in 2011 and joined as a member, became a consultant, and now I'm a manager. So I'm constantly spinning plates. And then the funniest thing, guys, is up until last March, I did a LGBT radio show. And I resigned in March saying I just need more time to do other things. Look what happened. Oh, no. Look what happened. So I've got I've got more time than I did then. Don't do that radio show right now. So that's kind of like the bullet points of where I am right now.
Well, David, we're going to talk to you a little bit more later in the show, but now we're going to bring on Gemma. Hello.
Hi. Okay.
I mean, we got your experience in Eurovision was different, because I know at the time it must have been horrible, but looking back now, to say that you got nil point in Eurovision is kind of a legendary status. But I mean, going back to you've got this track, you clearly have a lot of love for it and you're performing, but then it doesn't get received that well with the Eurovision. So how did that make you feel at the time to see that you're not getting the points like everybody else?
It was just horrendous, just absolutely awful. So my experience is probably really different to everybody else's, because we were just so excited about the competition, so excited to be involved in it, and as performers, and me being a perfectionist as well, I didn't foresee that happening. I didn't foresee, my performance not going the way it was supposed to. So the nil point thing wasn't that bad for me. It was the fact that as a professional singer, my performance wasn't on key, and that absolutely crucified me as a singer. Going forward, literally, it really, really knocked me. For years, it knocked me.
I mean, well, Andy was talking about this before, you came on, and he was saying, as a performer, because I know there was a technical difficulty on the night, you couldn't hear the track, and Andy said that's a kind of a performer's nightmare. So, for you to look back, it wasn't your fault. There's a technical issue on the night, you can't help that. So that must have frustrated you, the fact that you weren't in control of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, there was other things, you know, not to bore anybody, but, you know, there was a lot of stuff which didn't go right, basically. And it was just so, as I say, it was just so hard because you have these expectations. I was, you know, early 20s and we were so excited, and I was just in shock. I was in shock for years afterwards. And it was obviously, it was the negative comments. And I say, it wouldn't, the nil-pois thing doesn't bother me even now. You know, that was quite funny at the time, but it was the negative comments about me singing, because I'd been singing since I was 12, 13, and I knew I was a good vocalist. And I was, you know, I knew I could do it. Obviously, we'd done Song for Europe and stuff, and it had all gone well, and I was confident. And yeah, it was just awful on that night. I just look back, it was just couldn't believe it.
And you said then it affected you for years after your performance. So what about now? How do you feel in regards to performing? Because like you said, you've got such a strong voice, and if you listen to your other material, it's nothing to do with the fact that you're not a good singer, because you're an incredible singer. So are you still working in music?
Well, I carried on after Eurovision for years, gigging. Obviously, it was the wave after Eurovision, and then I carried on as a solo singer, just gigging, you know, in the UK. Then I had my 2 girls. I've got 2 daughters now, so I'm a mum. But last year, I just signed as the lead singer of a band called Ultrasonics, which is a dance band, and we were due to go on tour the end of last year, and obviously with COVID, just my luck, it's all off until this is all gone. So I was back in the studio and I was working, and I felt like me again, to be honest, having such a break from music and from singing. And you know, my vocals haven't gone, it's still there, but it's just the confidence that I needed to rebuild.
I mean, the year that you were on the show, weren't you on the same show as Mickey?
I was, yeah.
This is like a reunion because you were both on the same year.
Yeah, and I, you know what? This has been a really nice experience. I hope you don't mind me cutting in on this, because just a little bit, if you can hear me, because this has been really nice for me to reconnect with Gemma, because there's a really nice story. I met Gemma's mum in Ballyshannon, just in Donegal in Ireland, just slightly after Eurovision. I had a different experience than you, Gemma, and I know because I remember seeing. I remember seeing you the night of the Eurovision afterwards, and it was heartbreaking. I know you went through a lot, and you got a lot of tough time from the media in the UK and stuff. My experience was completely different in Ireland, you know, and I was going around doing this sort of record signings around shops and, you know, queues going down the street and stuff. It was pretty phenomenal for me. But I remember meeting your mum in Ballyshannon, because I believe your granddad was from Ballyshannon, from Donegal, if I'm not
my
wrong.
family's from Donegal,
right?
Ballyshannon, yeah.
I think she had exhumed him and was repatriating him or whatever in Ballyshannon. Is that right? Have I got the story?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I met her there, and it was really, I don't know if she's still around. If you tell her I said a big hello or whatever. And
you know what, she'll be made up that you were on the show. Well, I still go over to Ballyshannon every year with my mum. Obviously last year we didn't get over, but yeah, really
well, that's lovely. Well, maybe the next time you're back, we'll hook up and you know we'll I don't know.
Still in Donegal?
I'm still in Donegal, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. Although you know I'm kind of half based in Dublin, I see it, but yeah, I'm still up north. Yeah, so it's yeah, so it's really nice to be able to just connect with you again and tell your mum I said hello, and definitely when you're back in Ballyshannon, it was a little record shop. You know those things, there used to be record shops, you remember, where they used to sell records? CDs that would have CD signings. And I remember your mum very nicely came along and she introduced herself, and we had a nice, lovely conversation on that day. But I remember she had...
though. It wasn't it bumping into you after you being in Eurovision with me, and I remember
just a few weeks maybe previous.
You'll never guess who's here, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
My
mum
from Bridgend. Bridgend, is that quite close to you in Donegal?
Yeah, very, very close.
Yeah, that's where my wife's mum's.
Oh wow, we need to have a gig in Donegal soon.
I know.
And my grandfather is like a stone's throw from Bridgend.
Oh
so
wow.
We're all pretty close.
And my granny was a dairy woman, Dana, as well. So there you go.
There you go. A Donegal dairy reunion.
Yeah, absolutely.
My wife's father from Derry as well. So that's yeah. And I toured Northern Ireland. I did a sold out tour in Northern Ireland. You know, I think it was a year after I did I did X Factor. So.
Well, they've always had a good taste in music, Andy.
I did, yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I know. Well, they seem to enjoy it, and they got me drunk a few times.
Well, we're going to go.
That's before Brexit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you have to get your papers in order for the next one.
I know.
We got the so we're going to bring Mickey on the show now. Obviously, you just reminisce with Gemma, obviously being on the same year. But how, you mentioned how the experience for you was a positive one. When you look back now at your experience, how would you sum it up? On the night as well, which I've not asked anyone else. How nerve-wracking is it in the sense of such a big audience, that you're performing to?
It's a big deal. It's hugely kind of nerve-wracking in that sense. But I came off the back of like a show in Ireland called Eurostar, which is basically was the kind of the precursor, I suppose, to X Factor and these things. And halfway through the show, they sort of decided, because the show had sort of taken a lot of momentum in Ireland and sort of took a life of its own, and it became sort of the biggest show in Ireland at the time, kind of by accident. It was something that was RT just were kind of experimenting with or whatever, and they kind of halfway through they decided, well, whoever wins this will go to Eurovision. That wasn't something that we entered the competition knowing at the start. So my kind of I suppose dalliance with Eurovision was completely by accident, really. I didn't set out to, I didn't put a song forward or anything. It just came as the back of this. I went on this program to sort of get a bit of exposure, because I had a manager at the time. We had some recordings that we were trying to get a deal, and we just thought, if I could get a few weeks on the TV, it might help me to get a bit of exposure and get a record deal or something like that. And I didn't know. I ended up winning it, and then out of that, I went forward for Eurovision. For about 6 months previous, because of the show, I had cameras basically every week. We were doing this show, so I was kind of fortunate in that way, because it kind of groomed me a bit for Eurovision, if you know what I mean. I wasn't just thrown into this TV, and I had learned a lot over those Sunday nights on the show. There were live shows that we were doing, and so by the time I came to Eurovision, and all the gig, I suppose I was gigging for maybe 10 or 12 years before that, just going around on the backs of vans and doing all the stuff that you do as just a working musician. So I had that to I suppose lean on, and the fact of the Eurostar thing. So Eurovision was kind of, in that way, I'd seen it as part of the process. It didn't become as a big shock to me. So, but it still was very nerve-wracking, and but still to this day, I would say it was one of the best productions, if not the biggest production that I've ever been involved in. It's just when you see how huge it is and how technical and how good they are, the whole crew. And to me, the experience, maybe that's not the same for everybody, but I just had it was a fantastic eye-opener to see, wow, this is how you do it on this level. And you just learned so much from those, even it was only 1 week, even all the rehearsals and the stuff and the technical stuff, and how fine-tuned of a production it is, so behind stage as well. Yeah, it was, yeah.
I was going to say, if you had the chance to do it again, being it so many years ago since you took part, would you do the show again?
Yeah, listen, I've never say never anymore. I used to, I'm a singer-songwriter. I love just putting the guitar in the boot and going off, and I do a lot of solo work. The last, I suppose, 5 or 6 years are kind of primarily is a lot of solo work. I don't really have a band anymore. I have musicians that I bring in who know my set if I need them. But even the gigs, when I travel, be it in Germany or wherever in Europe, places, it's a lot of solo stuff. Which is nice. I can kind of do that. So it's not something I'm looking for, but I would never say never. Absolutely. So, because it's but the problem is at the minute, I don't know with Ireland, I don't know, there seems to be a relationship that it's very difficult to know. I had such a good experience the first time. I would hate to go back and it not be as good, even though I didn't win. It was such a positive thing for me. I don't know how I would top that, even though I didn't. So that would be sort of my only, I suppose, fear of going forward. But if it was the right song, the right, maybe a collaboration or something with somebody that felt right, and yeah, absolutely, why not? But I wouldn't say, never say never. But yeah, it's not really what I'm about, I suppose, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Well, we're going to come back to a little bit later on the show, but it's time to bring on. I know that Daz mentioned that it's kind of great to be on the same screen as the brilliant Dana. Hello.
Hi there.
Thank you so much for joining. You're such a legend of Eurovision. You really are. And what I love about your performance, it was everything about it was delicate. It was just simple. It didn't have the staging and the lights that people have now. It was just you sat down performing this incredible track. And the thing is, you were so young at the time. So how did that opportunity actually come about for you?
Well, can I say first that I didn't know how you were going to navigate this program, but I have just loved sitting, listening to people just talking very honestly and openly about their lives. And Gemma, you've moved on my screen, but I just feel like putting my arms around Gemma and saying, good for you, darling, you know, to have come through such a hard experience. And I'm so happy that you're going to be back performing again. And I think we all feel that for you. We really do.
Thank you.
Yeah, here.
I just had to say that. And I think you're doing a brilliant job navigating between us, but I'm just loving it, listening.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm going to edit that clip out now and make that my ringtone, getting a compliment from the legend that is Dana.
Yeah, no, for me, I was still at school, so I wasn't really known in Ireland. I wasn't known as a performer, and actually I wasn't planning to be a singer at that point, because I used to get so nervous going on stage. I used to sing with my eyes shut half the time, so I wouldn't see the audience. But because I'd decided I wasn't going to be a singer, I was actually asked to sing the song All Kinds of Everything, because the previous year I'd come second in the National Song Contest, and I was so nervous doing it. That's when I decided I can't possibly be a singer. So I retired from show business that summer of 69.
Are you mad?
that sounds good. I retired, and then the producer, Tom McGrath, he remembered me, Tom McGrath, and he said, oh, I got this song. And so I went into it thinking, I'll never do this again, ever in my life. And I was just a couple of months away from my A-levels, my practicals, and I was doing music. And my instrument was piano, not voice, and English. So, I mean, I thought, I'll go there. I took all my school books with me because I was so close. I never opened them, but I took them. And the writers were two amateur writers. They were both working in a newspaper. They were compositors. So you're right in a way that it was so fresh, because it was a totally amateur, you know, presentation. Yeah. And I thought, you know, I've nothing to lose. And what used to happen to me was I'd start off with great gusto, and halfway through the song, I'd suddenly realize where I was and what I was doing, and I'd lose it. You know, I couldn't breathe, I'd forget the words. But I remember that night saying to myself, you've got 3 minutes. And before I walked on, I visualized who was watching. You know, my little brothers, my parents, my great Aunt Mary, who'd paid for my ballet lessons, and, you know, my friends. And I remember saying to myself, don't screw it up. And I walked on. I didn't screw it up to the best of my ability. No. And the relief, all I felt afterwards, and I think you said this too, Niamh, was the relief that I'd done my best that I could do.
Yeah.
And I walked off, and I just wanted to lock every memory in my head. That Eurovision was not like the later ones where you had a green room where they televised, you know, everybody's reaction. And Terry, it was probably the same for you because you were so close to that Eurovision. We all sat in a perfectly plain room round a wooden table with one television on the wall. And there was Julio Iglesias sang for Spain, and Mary Hopkin sang for England. And I loved Mary Hopkin. I was a huge fan of Mary Hopkin. And I mean, all I could do was look at her, and she looked like an angel. And I assumed she was going to win because everybody else did. And you know, it was great camaraderie. As each person got up to leave to sing, we all genuinely wished them good luck. Well, I think nearly everybody was genuine. But when they came back, we all clapped and cheered and, oh, you did great. And I was the last. So that memory of it for me, I often felt through that week when you went to receptions and things, you know, I often felt like I was almost like an interloper, that I shouldn't have been there. And I didn't really belong there, but oh gosh, there was Mary Hopkin, and that's all I was interested in. But it was a good week, and I wasn't looking at the score. I mean, I wasn't counting the counts. And then they moved us to the side of the stage. And again, we all stood around one television. And I was just looking at, trying to lock everything in my head. And suddenly, the stage manager grabbed me by the wrist and started to pull me to the stage. And he said, "You've won, but there was a vote to come in." I said, "No, I haven't. No, I haven't," because I had missed a big vote for Ireland. And obviously they were all calculating, and they knew I couldn't lose it, but I didn't know that. And I'm pulling against him with all my might, saying, "No, no." And Mary Hopkin just whispered in my ear. She said, "You have. Go with him." And I went like a lamb to the side of the stage. And I'm thinking, this is not happening. And I must have been white, you know, must have been just going. And he said, "Do you want a drink of water?" I said, "Yes," which I promptly swallowed the wrong way. And the next minute I'm walking on there, and it was just incredible.
And what I wanted to ask, you know, with you being so young, because everyone else here, you know, you can kind of remember everything and remember how it felt. But for you being so young, do you look back now and realize that you maybe didn't take it all in, you know, for what it was and how big it was?
Well, I remember every detail.
Wow.
And I didn't go to watch anybody rehearse, because I knew if I watched anybody else rehearse, I'd be so aware of how inexperienced I was, and you know, and I would not compare favorably in my mind. So I thought, I'm not going to watch anybody else rehearse. And I remember there was an amazing Spanish team supporting Julio Iglesias. Like, and if you stood still for longer than a second, you'd be covered in stickers that said "Vote for Spain." So they were everywhere, the stickers everywhere. And, you know, I was fascinated by all of that. And then the first time I heard the other songs was in the dress rehearsal, because you had to be there. And we were all in this, it wasn't like a really flashy theatre. It was very much, it's quite an iconic place now, and completely unchanged, actually, totally unchanged. Because I had a last year being my 50th anniversary, BBC and RT did a documentary on my 50 years, and they took me back to that theatre. And it's like a time warp within a huge complex, and you walk in, it's just the same. And it was quite bare, and at the back, we were all at the bottom of a flight of stairs, walking up and down a corridor, waiting. So that's the first time I heard other songs. I kept everything in my mind, but there's a non-reality when you're on there. It's very hard in television to actually visualize millions and millions of people watching.
You don't see them. Yeah.
You don't see them. But my thought before I walked on was my dad, my brothers, my great aunt, my granny was in the audience, and you know, your friends, your personal friends, they were the ones I could see. But it's hard really to take in the reach of Eurovision when you're taking part, you know.
And you know, the song is so beautiful that you know, your voice on the song is just like gold. And every time I listen to the track, I just want to run in the field and pick flowers. It's one of those uplifting songs where you picture the countryside and everything because of you know, the words of the song.
Well, you know, when I was trying to work out how I would perform the song, because obviously you can stand up, or you can do it with a mic in your hand, or you can sit, or, you know, how are you going to present it? And as I listened to the words in my head, and I thought, where would you see these things? And I imagined you'd see them sitting on a gate in a country road, looking around you. So you're exactly right in how it makes you feel. And that's how it made me feel. And that's why I sat down because of that.
Well, it's honestly to have such a legend. And do you know what's great? But when you were talking, everybody else on the screen is just loving listening to your experience, because it seems it was very different to theirs, with it being so early on. You know, the fact that
I'm loving hearing all of your experience. I mean, I really do feel so close to you, although we're on a screen and on a Zoom. I really feel so. I just feel like giving them a big hug, big group hug.
Oh, that's good, because I'm going to go check my chicken. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
I was about to ask you about the chicken. This has been a great. This is going to be a spin-off to this episode, Niamh's Chicken. We got to bring on now the brilliant Nicki French. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. And your performance in particular, and your song, is one of my favorites because it's addictive. And you know,
really?
I love it.
Yeah, as a few of the others have said, unfortunately, the voting public didn't quite agree. But thank you.
I mean, when you were asked to do that, because you had success, you know, prior to Eurovision. So when you were asked to do the show, were you delighted to do it? You know, to take part?
Oh, so much so. When John Springate, one of the writers, he phoned me, and the phone call was sort of, he just kept umming and erring in the whole conversation, and was saying, if someone was to give you a song to sing, and they mentioned it was and then he quickly said Eurovision, would you be interested? And I just went, oh hell yeah, I'm a huge fan. And he didn't know that. I remember Clodagh Rogers being our representative for the UK with Jack in the Box, and being absolutely gutted that mum and dad wouldn't let me stay up to watch the Eurovision Song Contest that year. And I got up the next day and I was like, how do we do? And every year ever since, it was huge for me. So to then become the UK's representative was just, it was just my Olympics. You know, I just felt so proud and so honoured, and I still do. That's why I do the London Eurovision party and everything. I had so many people afterwards say to me, oh right, you've done it now, leave it, you can walk away, you know, get on with your career. And I just thought, I just don't want to. I want to stay connected, and I'm very lucky that I've been able to. But I have realised that nobody in this chat room has done the London Eurovision party. So that's my plan for the next couple of years.
Invites, please, invites.
Everybody's invited.
Actually, I think I did it one year. I did,
and I wasn't there.
Yeah,
I was in Ireland with Menopause the Musical.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I did that afterwards. But I was at the London, and that's when one of the UK fans always say the same thing to me, that, you know, I broke their hearts because I beat Sonia. I just want to be very clear that my response then is the same now. I don't care. But I did do the London party, and it was a hoot, absolutely brilliant. And actually, you know, I think we were kind of talking about maybe me doing it last year, and something happened. I don't know what happened, and something happened that we couldn't quite get it together. But anyway, you know, I love visiting Eurovision the same as you, Nicki. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's you know, it's brought you to me. I mean, we've become friends, and I love that. I mean, when I came to see you all and Paul in the show, what was that now, 2 years ago? We've all kind of like left last year now, haven't we? We've just kind of forgotten that last year even occurred. It didn't happen, it just occurred. So yeah, but coming over there to see the show that you all put on was just wonderful.
Oh, well, it was great, actually. All the Irish winners, more or less. Unfortunately, Emer couldn't do it, but we had such a beautiful time doing all the work that we did. You know, it was just...
We really did, didn't we? Niamh? That was so special.
I know, it was so amazing. And actually, you know, the thing is, if there's an event that I think I'm going to see any of you, I nearly say yes, so I can see you, you know, because obviously we all work and we all gig and we do our thing. So we never have a chance to be in the same space. And, you know, even though we do our own things separate, it's just so lovely when we're all in the same space and we talk about things and do things. And, you know, it's just phenomenal. And you know, Nicki, you and I have a lot of connections because of that. But it's just, yeah, Eurovision is just like that. It's very unifying. I think once you're in, you're in. Doesn't matter whether you won or not. You're just a part of it.
It's true. It's yeah. I mean, here before you say it, Lewis, I'll just drop it in there that yes, when we came 16th, it was at the time the UK's lowest ever position. And living with that was just horrible. However, it has sort of made me realize that the whole Eurovision network, as Lewis said at the very beginning, it's such a huge kind of family thing. You know, you can do so badly at Eurovision, but it doesn't matter to the Eurovision fans. They love each and every artist that has represented their country. And you know, we all, I'm sure I'm not the only one that loves April and May, because that's my busiest time of the year. I love it. I love getting asked to do Eurovision things.
I mean, Nicki, you know, one thing that I love is how much you embrace Eurovision. And you mentioned there about it is like a family. With the fans of the show, it's a family. But this call today, seeing everyone here, you come across like a family. I mean, when Gemma was so open and honest about her journey, you all showed so much support and love. And that's been nice to see from this today.
Well, yeah, and I think also what people fail to remember a lot of the time is that Eurovision is the one contest now where it's completely live vocals. Now, I know this year they're talking about allowing some pre-recorded backing vocals, which I think is just a horrible, horrible idea. I hated them taking out the orchestra. So now to be allowing pre-recorded vocals, I think is just a terrible thing. But what people fail to realize is all those vocals on the night have to be completely live. You don't get that with X Factor. You don't get that with so many of these different competitions on TV. You know, Eurovision really, really sets the mark, because everybody has to keep their voices going. It's not that you've got to have a good voice, but you go through, for me it was a week, for many nowadays it's 2 weeks of rehearsals, and my God, that takes it out of your voice. It really is a strain. So, you know, you have to be strong to get through it in the first place. So again, Gemma, you know, just be proud. And I have to say, you looked absolutely stunning in that rust-coloured dress.
Yeah,
you looked absolutely stunning. You did. But you know, all of us have to be proud that, you know, we can get up there and we can sing live, because there's so many people that don't.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to go to Terry now. I've got some questions I'm going to ask everybody as a whole at the end. But Terry, of course, Black Lace. We all know you for your party hits. I mean, New Year's Eve parties, when we've had a drink, we attempt to sing it. But you, of course, represented Eurovision late in the 70s. What's your experience and your memories of that?
1979, 42 years ago now. It was in Israel, so for us it was an 8-hour plane flight, and when we landed we were told that they're going to try something new, colour TV, and it was the first year that actually had colour TV on the Eurovision Song Contest. That was it. So colour TV started in Israel on March the 31st, 1979, and the production team were brilliant, but for us it was quite daunting because, like Nicki said, live vocals, mined acoustic guitars, and mined drums. Now, I was prattling about, sort of twiddling my sticks like this, and this guy from the back of me came up and said, right, we're going to focus in on that. And I said, I've only got the one pair of drumsticks. If I drop it, what then? So fortunately for us, the rehearsal went very well, and the drumstick spinning went very well. So when you see any YouTube videos of the Eurovision, there's a couple where I'm stood there or sat there, you know, twiddling my sticks. But the drum kit was paper over the skins and sort of plastic cymbals. So even though you had to put all the effort in to make it appear as though you were playing with gusto, it was, you know, I watch back now and I just think, you know. But at the end of the day, it was an amazing experience. We were 17th on the show of 22, so quite a long way down. And for us, we thought a German band called Genghis Khan, the actual stage presentation was unbelievable. We thought they'll walk it, they'll just win it outright. And then it came to our turn to go on and perform. And I picked up the drumsticks and suddenly my hands, I'd got a check, which I'd never had before. And I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not even playing. And suddenly I was, you know, feeling quite nervous. But it all went really well on the night. We came 7th overall, but for one vote, we were actually winning. So we were really proud just to be there for one vote to be at #1. So my experience 42 years ago, it's still like yesterday. Brilliant, amazing.
Well, your music's kept us entertained for many years.
Yeah. That came a few years after, but yeah, you're right. The party songs such as Superman and Agadoo and all that, yeah, brilliant. I was still involved in the band, but there was only two of the guys up front doing all the live work and TV work. But yeah, brilliant experience.
Good for you.
Now we're going to bring on Mr. Andy Abraham, and of course, many of us, when you represented the UK, we knew you for your time on X Factor. You know, and that was when the show was huge. You know, in regards to ratings, and you came second on the show. When they asked you to, you know, to take part, and you did the process, you must have been over the moon because you've gone from the biggest singing competition on TV to then the other biggest singing competition on TV.
Yeah, I mean, they asked me in 2007. I was asked, but I hadn't written a song. I didn't feel that I had a song to represent the UK at the time. So, you know, I basically wrote a song, co-wrote a load of songs, and then they asked me in 2008, and instantly I thought to myself, yeah, I know the song. That would be amazing to do, and because it's got a feel-good factor, and I know the Eurovision is all about how good you want to feel. Do you know what I mean? You know, that's the one thing that I took from Eurovision all the years that I've watched. Even the ballads made you feel good. Do you know what I mean? You know, it was uplifting. So yeah. I thought Even If was the song, as much as it's soulful, like a soulful groove song. I thought to myself, you know, that's it. But they asked me, could you send 3 songs? I didn't. I only sent them Even If. That was it. I said they'll either take that, you know, to do Eurovision Your Decision, or that's it. I just won't do it. Do you know what I mean? And they accepted it. Did Eurovision Your Decision? Didn't expect to get through, to be honest. And in some respects, it's probably one of the reasons why I got through was the popularity of X Factor, and a lot of people would have watched Eurovision because of that. Eurovision Your Decision, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it was only 3 years previously. So, you know, I was kind of on TV quite a lot then, do you know what I mean? But the fact that I did it, and I felt that what's her name? I'm trying to remember her name from EastEnders. Oh,
Michelle Gale.
Michelle Gale, that's it, Michelle Gale. Her song was much more Eurovision than mine, much more. So, you know, I always thought to myself that there are much more Eurovision sounding songs, you know. I always felt that there's a particular style of Eurovision. Do you know what I mean? You know, whether it be traditional or just a light-hearted style of Eurovision, you know. So I didn't think even if we'd actually get through, but there I was, yeah. Next minute, my name came out. And then, you know, my experience of Eurovision was being met by machine gun wielding security men that got us onto the coach, me and the band. And that was in Belgrade, Serbia. And just going through the city, because it was 10 years previously, the Baltic War kind of stopped. So you still had, you know, bullet holed buildings, do you know what I mean? Next to brand spanking new buildings. And then you had, going over a bridge of the city, there was like a shanty town, and there was brand spanking new erected buildings and everything. It was very surreal, really surreal, you know? But the actual experience of the competition and the contestants and the people it was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. The bubble was fantastic. I was kind of captivated by how seriously other countries took it, you know, because the UK at that time, you know, they saw it as, you know, there's no point in taking it seriously because, you know, no one's going to vote for us. And, you know, as much as that did happen, it would have been nice for the UK to really have gotten more involved in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And put more into it, you know? But you know, you get what you put into it, you know what I mean? And it's like the year after me, when Jade Ewing did it with Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, okay, they put so much more into it and they came 5th.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes a difference in respects of what you put into it, you know? So, but it was the first year that HD was applied. So the colours my colours on stage was just vibrant, you know, soulful and vibrant. It was just brilliant. And the sad thing is though, because we came joint last with 14 points, right? Ireland gave me 8 points, I think it was.
Woo-hoo.
Ireland gave me 8 points. I was happy with that. You know what I mean?
That was all the people in Bridgend voting for you.
Really, I know.
And Cookstown.
That's the entire village of Bridgend, I tell you that.
My wife was really sad about it. Do you know what I mean? I knew what was going to happen once we didn't get any votes, the first 2 votes. So I knew it. So all I did was I told them to just bring loads of drink. We're just going to enjoy ourselves, have a great time. No one will take away the experience of doing Eurovision. My name is cemented, and that will never change. Do you know what I mean? So I was all happy about that. You know, I performed great. That was the year that Sir Terry Wogan decided, no, that's it. I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. It's not fun anymore. The political voting has become so bad now. So I'm not going to do it anymore. So he quit. That was my year that he quit. So, but it's a bit like I say, the experience of doing it, and it's the best stage that I've performed on. Not the most historic, I would say, but the without doubt, the best stage, the most professional outfit. I mean, they were methodical. Do you know what I mean? And they had to be, because there were so many performers there. You know, you had your time slot. You had to make sure you was there at the right time, and you know, be professional. And we were all professional. We were lining up the right way because we didn't want to mess up our opportunity. Do you know what I mean? So, and a lot of the contestants as well that we met, you know, I'm a very much a talkative and bubbly person when I meet new people that perform and that are into the same thing of singing, you know, and performing. And so I got on really, really well with the French, with the Finnish, the Portuguese. I mean, you know, yeah, they must have thought, who is this crazy black man? He's just, you know, he's all over the place. You know what I mean? But it was
from Bridgend.
Yeah, but it was just exciting. It was just exciting to be part of a historical competition, you know. And for me, I saw it as no different to Top of the Pops. It's no different, you know, because Top of the Pops they've got their serious performers, fantastic singers, novelty acts. Do you know what I mean? It had it all, Top of the Pops. And I see Eurovision as no different to that. The added element, I think, is the traditional songs. There's just more traditional songs of countries that we don't know of. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was wicked for me, and I'll definitely do it again.
Well, we're gonna we got some more questions. We're gonna come back to you in just a moment, but we're gonna bring on now the brilliant Paul, who's here. And I know that everyone on the call when you came on was smiling, so I guess you've got a good connection with a lot of people here. So let's say hello to Paul Harrington. How are you?
It's unbelievable, you know. It's great. I didn't realise I had so many relatives in the UK. I feel like I'm on this show with Davina McCall, and I'm kind of meeting long lost brothers and sisters from all over. But you know, or maybe it's a bit more like Cilla Black and surprise. But you know, just as Dana said there, you know, it's great sitting back here listening to everybody's human story as well. And everybody's, you know, reflecting, you know, on their experience as a positive one. And you know, I was just thinking of just two things I want to say. I want to say to Niamh, first of all, about her particular performance was like, I mean, Alfred Hitchcock could not put that together. That was the biggest nail biter of all time. You know, I mean, the suspense was incredible, and I listening to everybody as well from the UK, from our point of view, you know, watching the Eurovision growing up, the thing is, you know, I suppose there's lots of years as well. It looked like we won it every year for about 500 years, but don't forget there was lots of years that we never were involved. So your default support was always the UK, you know, and I've always loved and enjoyed and embraced the spirit of every entry and performance. Because there's a joy about people from the UK that, I mean, throughout the media, throughout television, there's a spirit that is so not Irish, as we all know how different we all are. You know what I mean? But it's always a pleasure, and listening to, you know, all the different stories about, you know, where you might have come. And I love that story you're talking about we said, look, forget about it. You can't take it away from us. Let's get in a lot of drink. We'll have a bit of fun. And of course, I mean, how Irish is that?
Yeah.
You know, and I was thinking of a little. I think it was Gemma was talking about the 0 points thing there, and still such, you know, it was a tough experience, obviously, and that would knock you for 6 as a professional performer, because I know myself and Charlie went out to do something that was, and don't forget, there was still orchestra involved, and we were kind of really looking forward to working with an orchestra. But anyway, the decision was made. It's too long of a story to go into it, but the decision was made that we wouldn't use the orchestra. That would be just me, vocal, piano, Charlie, guitar, and it just so happened, apropos of something Niamh said earlier about zeitgeist, or being on the zeitgeist. So we were, you know, steeped that we just happened to land probably about a year before, or right in the middle of the whole Unplugged thing, and that, I think, was a huge stroke of luck for us, you know. And again, thank God, I was listening to everyone talking about, you know, Nicki, I think you were talking about, you know, rehearsing and performing, and big singers. I mean, there's a big gamble there all the time, because you're always going to be pushed and pushed and pushed. And there's a danger that your voice is gone by the time you get to do your big night, you know. So again, we were lucky to have a song that was quite gentle, easy enough to, you know, easy on the ears, easy on everything, and no pressure. But back to Gemma about the 0 points, because I tell you just a quick little story. Quite recently, somebody said to me, said, "Oh, well, actually, it might have been, you know, because nobody sees each other in Ireland anymore now with lockdown, but it's probably 6 months ago." But somebody said, "Oh, I heard your song being mentioned on that TV show in the UK called Pointless," you know. And I said, "Oh, really? Great." And then then the penny dropped. The reason why it was mentioned, because nobody had heard of it. Anyway, so you know, the 0 thing is not so bad, but sorry, I suppose, Lewis, it's time for a question now, is it?
Well, I love the excitement. I guess I ask you the same as everyone, which is kind of sum up your experience and what Eurovision meant to you, because of course, winning the show, you're in that elite club.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and you're right. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, like everybody's been saying, you know, you're part of an elite club. I love meeting everybody again, and thinking about Dana. I mean, you were talking about Dana being the first out. Don't forget, like, I was born in 1960, so I was 10 when Dana did the Eurovision. So we only had television in Ireland from 1961. So I say this quite frequently, that as a child growing up, there was 3 major televisual events in my lifetime up to 10 years of age. One was the assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963. The second was the moon landing in 1969. And the third, Dana winning the Eurovision for Ireland. I mean, it was incredible. Can you imagine what that was like for, you know, for a 10-year-old to be watching this? And well, we had a black and white TV, but that's the way it was. So, I mean, like that, is being on the same screen as everybody, and Dana, and meeting Dana, and having done shows with Dana, that is incredible. And to listen to Dana describe her experience the way it is, I mean, I really bring that through to our own experience. And Mickey, Joe, Niamh, everybody, I'm sure that and talking about the whole professionalism, it's one of those shows where you are actually treated like a professional, and everything is run so beautifully. It's the biggest kind of you know, as a great songwriter, Irish songwriter Shay Healy, who wrote "What's Another Year," describes it as the you know, the longest running soap opera on television, and you know, and it's a variety show. It's huge entertainment. And it's almost like it's a bit of a Willy Wonka experience, to having been watching it for years, and then just be stepping through the magic screen, and you're there and you're on the stage. And I mean, it's funny. You know, everything was running very smoothly for us, and I only made one complaint, and that was at the time, just because it was me, piano, Charlie, guitar. I kind of arrived out, and I was a little bit apprehensive about complaining, but they put this kind of Mickey Mouse little piano on stage, and it all looked very puny and felt awful. So it was my one request. I didn't care about coloured M&Ms or anything. I just said, look, whatever you do, let's have a decent piano for this, you know. But I mean, then it was kind of childish experiences with myself and Charlie. It was like, I'm a solo artist, Charlie is. Some of us are, some of us aren't. In the game, you know, it's, as a solo performer, it's a very lonely business, can be, you know, whether you're, you know, sometimes you might have a band, sometimes you mightn't, but having Charlie as a sidekick, particularly when we, you know, as a friend as well, you know, when we did win and we were touring, it was great to have each other. But we did laugh a lot. That I do remember, and I miss him here today. But we had, you know, there was Les Dawson moments where we were rehearsing, and I was sitting at the piano, and they forgot to put the wheel locks on. And of course, the piano was moving further further away from you. Stuff like, you know, lots of levity too, you know. But an incredible experience, Lewis. Incredible experience, and something you know, they can't take that away from me. You know, as the song says, beautiful.
And
I've got some questions. I've got some questions that I would love to ask everyone, but I'm just conscious if anyone needs to drop out of the call, because we know the chicken situation.
Chicken is really important.
So if anyone does need to leave now, that's absolutely fine. If anyone's able to stay, that'd be great, because we've got some more questions I'd love to ask for another kind of 10 minutes. If anyone.
Okay, well, I'll give you 10. I'll give you 10.
Yeah. A question to everybody. I've got to say, Mark, you look like a Hollywood film star, just like with the background and just, yeah, you look like a film star with the set.
Oh, thanks for saying so, but I certainly don't feel like it.
So the question to everybody, I'd love to know, and I know the Eurovision fans were, you know, not including your own songs, what's your favorite Eurovision track? So starting with Mark.
It's very difficult to say it with them actually listening, but I have to say it's Rock and Roll Kids, and I sang it I don't know how many times, and I love it because it's just such an organic song. It's just such a real song, and I thought I was always a fan of both Paul and Charlie for as long as I can remember, and just the whole idea that you can sit down with the guitar or the piano and sing Rock and Roll Kids, it's just perfect, it really is. So that would be mine.
Beautiful song.
What about you, Andy? What's your favourite Eurovision song of all time?
Oh my God, of all time? That's wow. I mean, we're talking a lot of years. I mean, I suppose the most memorable, definitely the first one that I ever knew was Dana's, without a doubt. All Kinds of Everything, without a doubt.
Yeah.
As soon as I see you, I think of it. Do you know what I mean? I suppose later on in the years, it'd have to be Waterloo. Then later on, it'd have to be Making Your Mind Up. You know, it's so difficult to just go, yeah, this one is my absolute complete favourite, because they're all brilliant. They all serve their purpose. You know what I mean? At specific times, you know?
Yeah.
What about for you, Daz? If you had to pinpoint one song that stands out as one of your favourites in Eurovision, what would you say?
Well, apart from my own, obviously. No, seriously. I bet Nicky's going, he's been on the sauce again. Anyway, so I haven't, because I'm dressed like this because I've got to go training in a minute. So mine is more in the modern era. It's Euphoria, the Swedish entry, and Satellite, the German entry from around 2010. But going back, I like the two Johnny Logan songs. I thought they were absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And what about for you, Terry? What stands out as one of your kind of all-time Eurovision favourites?
Well, Andy's mentioned them all, because I liked, first brought to my attention was Dana, to be honest. ABBA, but there's all those songs, they all instantly spring to mind.
Yeah.
So they're the sort of my Agadoo moment, if you want. You sort of hear them and straight away you think of Eurovision, and that's it. You know, it's brilliant. Yeah. So that any one of the Andy's name, well, you all mentioned, they're all good.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it. Yeah.
And for you, Niamh?
Well, Paul knows that my favorite is Rock and Roll Kids, because of so much is tied into that, quite apart from the song itself, which is brilliant, and their performance, but also I was such a part of that. I remember Waterloo so well, because obviously I was 6 and that was just so important in my life. And the whipping off the skirts obviously was very important, and making your mind up, because you know, the age I was. Listen, you know, Eurovision is huge for me. Every year there's something. I think my favorite one to sing actually is Puppet on a String.
Oh yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
I absolutely love that song. It's a real roast. And actually I've sung All Kinds of Everything, and that's not an easy song to sing, Donna, so I'm going to tell you that now. But actually I just love that whole kind of concept of, there's so many songs that you could call out, and everyone you'd be going, oh yeah, that one, you know. So I'm sitting here going, oh yeah, that could be. But actually, definitely, if I was to put it down, Rock and Roll Kids is my favorite, because it encompasses so much of my experience of Eurovision.
Niamh, I think you should try and enter next year and have a song called Chicken in the Oven. and then we'll all know why.
You should have asked it.
I hate to say this, but that would be foul.
We have had a turkey.
Sorry.
No, that's my ringtone. Yeah.
Nicki, what about for you? I mean, you're a huge Eurovision fan.
Oh, know, this is the most difficult question. I can't even do a top 10, let alone a one single song.
Yeah.
I have to say, Niamh, your song In Your Eyes is just one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
I've been asked to do a top 10 actually for something coming up, so that will be in there, but the Johnny Logan songs will be in there. Paul, Rock and Roll Kids, let me be honest, I never got it until we worked together at the Sage in Gateshead a few years ago, and I was in tears at the side of the stage. It just blew me away. It was gorgeous, and I got it that night, and it's been a favorite ever since. I think my very first favorite would be Gigliola Cinquetti from 1974. She was expected to win, and this little group from Sweden beat her to it. But I guess that was my first ever favorite proper Eurovision song. So I'll go with that. See or Go by Gigliola Cinquetti.
And what about for you, Dana? What stands out as a song that you love from Eurovision?
Oh, there's so many. I've said before, I love Niamh's song. I think it's an absolute gem of a song. But I also love Rock and Roll Kids. I love Bucks Fizz songs because I love Bucks Fizz and their friends, and they're just great. But if I could say, in more recent years, the one that restored my faith in Eurovision, because we've gone through some terrible voting times when, there's not been a proper balanced voting between public and juries, and there's been political voting and whatnot, was when Portugal recently won.
That's the one.
They were total outsiders. He looked a total mess. He wasn't groomed. His suit didn't fit. His hair was terrible. And I mean, I wept. It was so beautiful. And he won across the board. He won all the national votes. He won all the jury votes. And I thought to myself, that's what Eurovision is really about. You get a good song. You get a singer whose heart's entirely in it, and tell with what they look like or what they're wearing, or if they dance or if they don't. And they stand up there and they sing this song, and they just, wow, they just blow your socks off. That restored my faith in Eurovision.
I totally agree with you with that. And David, what stands out for you as an all-time favourite?
Without doubt, Linda Martin, Why Me? It's a song which I had never really heard of until I did the radio show, and it was the most requested, and it's probably the song that I listen to above and beyond, even more than Scooch, any of my kind of Eurovision playlists. I just love it. It's just beautiful vocal, and I think just the lyrics, they're amazing. So why me? Why us?
Cool. I mean, before we ask you, many people, have said your song, and with Eurovision, it has the ability as a fan to take you to different places. If it's a fun, catchy song, it just makes you feel happy. But with your song, it was one of those where you just listen and you're moved by, everything about the words. It's so meaningful, and it was one of those tracks that, watching it back now, I mean, I was, I think, 1 or 2 when it was out. But it's one of those songs where you listen back to now. And even at my age, I connect to it. It's so special. So, now let's ask you what your favourite Eurovision song is.
And it's lovely to hear. I mean, it's a little bit like the Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart. It's that we were the rock and roll kids. It's always it's something that can carry through to no matter whatever age. I've never overthought about it or overanalyzed. I've just always considered myself blessed to have a song associated, like that with me, and it's in its entirety. It's interesting. There's a whole other story to talk to Brendan Graham about the song, and why it would translate in certain worlds and why it wouldn't in others. But anyway, back to the favorite thing. I have to say, with what Dana said, I was listening. Going back to when Portugal were the entries that year, my brother Joe said, "You got to hear this," and he just played the entry on YouTube, and which you can nowadays before the show, before it had been released. And I looked at it and liked that. It was just pure. It was heart and emotion. Singing in Portuguese, I hadn't a clue what he was saying. It didn't matter, and I just looked at Joe. So that has to win it, as far as I'm concerned. But what Niamh says about favourites, it depends on how invested you are. I mean, as a kid, I loved Making Your Mind Up. Obviously, I love Kisses for Me. I mean, the Eurovision show, the greatest Eurovision songs ever is the show that we do, and hopefully when the pandemic is finally drummed into the ground, we'll get back to do it again. But that is a great opportunity to see all of the different favourite songs. Johnny Logan, of course, if I had to call it, I would say Hold Me Now. I don't know why, maybe it was just the age I was at. It was, and I'm so proud of him, and Johnny, as we all know, is I hate using the expression going over 100%, but he is literally a gazillion% in, and that's that. And, it was such a great performance. And I suppose, I don't know, you feel immensely proud, and then I go back to, obviously I spoke about Dana when I was 10 years of age. I mean, that was mind-blowing. So that is always in there, and to do shows and to be doing these songs, ABBA, Waterloo, incredible. There's so many. It's like everybody has said there today. It's so hard to pick. But I suppose I would, if I had to call it. I mean, if I had to, toss a coin, I'd go with Johnny Logan, Hold Me Now, for sure.
And what about for you, Mickey? What stands out as a classic that you love in regards to Eurovision?
I was waiting for this moment forever because I get a chance to plug myself now, because not because of my song, but I did a little special on Facebook. I was doing during the first lockdown. I done MJ at midday, so every half 12 every day I did a session, acoustic session, and then every Friday I would do a special. Like I done Stock Aitken and Waterman songs one Friday. I did different things, just to have something. But I did obviously a Eurovision special, so I did my own versions of all the songs that came. And Dana, I did a really nice version of All Kinds of Everything came up. And I got a great reaction as well. So I opened up with that, because I did an up-tempo type of version of it. But anyway, I came across a song that won in 1973 from Anne-Marie, and I'm not going to try and pronounce it. It's a beautiful, beautiful song, and it was a Eurovision fanatic, a guy that I met at one of the Eurovision events. You get invited to every so often from Israel, and he said to me, try the 1973, and I said I will, because that's the year I was born as well. But I absolutely love the song, and Anne-Marie heard it herself. I think she's based in Switzerland now, and she sent me back a version with listening to me and her singing the harmony on top and stuff. So that was really nice. So yeah, it's on my Facebook page. You can sort of check them out, and then Save All Your Kisses, because I was 3 when that song was out. My dad used to sing it because the punchline at the end is, even though you're only 3, at the end of it. So, and my very favorite is What's Another Year from Johnny, because Shea Haiti song. It's just, I think I was at that age where it just really, and the big sax solo, it just done everything for me at the time. So if I had to pick one, What's Another Year?
And what about for you, Gemma?
That's my Eurovision review.
And Gemma?
And what about for me? Oh God. I know my first recollection of Eurovision was actually Sonia, and it must be obviously because she was from Liverpool and my mum put it on, and I remember watching it, and I remember saying to my mum, I'm going to do that one day, and that's how, and I did, basically, from watching that. So that was my first ever memory. But I know, well, for my family, especially my mum, I think we supported Ireland more than we did the UK, to be honest. So, I remember like Johnny Logan and stuff, and Dana, and all the Irish entries really were always the favourites within our household. I love Sandy Shaw, Puppet on a String. Bucks Fizz obviously is up there, and that's it really, as I say. But I'm sure that we used to support Ireland more than the UK for some reason.
Well, you know, I agree with Sonia. Then Niamh came and just dashed the hopes that we were going to win again, but definitely deserved.
I'm definitely not going to apologise again. Right? I can't.
I wanted to ask who on here actually performed in their own country. Was Niamh or Paul?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Did you ask Terry his favourite?
Yes. Mine was very similar to what Andy was saying. You know, sort of all those songs, including yourself, Dana, from memory. They just we were never, as a band, we were never really interested in Eurovision. So it came as quite a shock when we'd been down London recording, and they picked our song out to represent the UK in a sort of 12 people to sort of pick a song to represent the UK. And we were sort of doing Queen type stuff on stage at that time. So Eurovision was far from our minds. Right. So to be asked to do it at the time, they just said, well, if you don't do it, we'll get somebody else to sing your song. And that was it. So we said, right, we'll do it. And that was it. So then from then on, we were Eurovision, you know, that was it. Eurovision. So before that, it was, we were always playing. Saturday night, we were always playing. So we never actually saw it. We just heard who'd won. So it was very few and far between that you could recollect a song by a face. So you'd hear a song, but you couldn't picture who actually sang or played that tune. So it was years after that we started to look back on all the tunes and people who had won to see who had actually done what. So that's how it came about for us, totally out of the blue.
Okay. Sorry, I just didn't realise you'd given a favourite song. Sorry, Lewis.
No, not to, I mean, Niamh, as mentioned there, to actually win Eurovision for your country, actually in your country, that must make it even more authentic, surely. That must have been just the best experience, to win for your country and you're performing in your country.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying there wasn't enough bias in the hall. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, there was a lot of bias in the hall. And it was in Mill Street, which is a small town. So it was like Eurovision land. And yeah, actually, there's a really funny story. I'm sure lots of people have heard it before. But basically, when we finished and we'd done all the press afterwards and all that, they put me on a bus back to Killarney because we couldn't stay where we were in Mill Street. It was too small. And I got on the bus because they wouldn't let me into the party because it was too mad. And they thought they'd wreck me. So I was put on a bus to go back to Killarney. And I got on a bus with a load of fans. They all nearly fainted, right? Because they weren't expecting the Eurovision winner to just get on the bus to go to Killarney. And so somebody had a cassette of In Your Mincers, as we would have called it, In Your Eyes. And basically they put it on, and the B-side was the backing track, because we had nothing to put on the B-side. So they basically made me sing it all the way home with them, which was lovely. It was 40 minutes.
That's a long journey too, isn't it?
It was about 40 minutes. And yeah, so there's a lot of that carry on going on. Yeah, but to win on home ground, I still recall there's a fantastic documentary called Why Not Mill Street, which is really about setting it in Mill Street. But there's a fantastic kind of cut out in when they're showing all the results, and then we've won, right? And then they cut to this picture of the crowd going ole ole, which was kind of the Irish thing at the time, as we know. And there was a lot of oleing going on, and Albert Reynolds was throwing himself around delighted. Noel C. Duggan, who owned the arena, was delighted because he knew he was going to make a fortune out of this. And beside him was Joe Barry, who was head of RTE, who was white-faced, couldn't even speak, I'd say, because he couldn't figure out how he was going to pay for it again. And not only that, he paid for it again. So anyway, but I was responsible for that. All I know is that yeah, there's lots of things I could tell you about what happens when they win on home ground. Just, they love it. They love it. But you know, in 2010, when I sang in the room in Oslo, they loved it too. So, you know, it really is phenomenal just to be at home. I got a train down to Cork and all. It was great.
I mean, the final thing I'd love to ask everyone now, you've been so generous with your time. So to end it today, I'd just love to ask everyone what you're doing now, kind of your recent projects, things that you're working on, and where people can find your material. So I know we spoke to Mark, and you're very active with your TV and radio projects as well at the moment.
But there's something else that I've been lucky enough to come up with as well. We've a theatre show. For years, since the day I was born, I always loved the music of John Denver. And I would have a similar range to what he had. And because he was a songwriter and played guitar and being self-sufficient that way. So we put together a show, a tribute to the music of John Denver. And we've literally toured all over the world with it, from the States to New Zealand, or to Australia, Tasmania. And I was invited a couple of years ago to his hometown of Aspen in Colorado, where we performed it. So we had a lot of shows in to do that. And unfortunately, with the pandemic, we had to call it quiet for a while, but that's something else that I do. I'm very proud of. So,
wow, Paul's special guest has stole the show. Hello.
This is my little daughter, Molly. Say hi.
Hi, Molly.
Hey, Molly.
Oh my God,
She's waving. Blow everybody a kiss.
Oh, mwah.
Gorgeous.
Okay. She's a beauty. Little guest appearance. She's either keeping me very young or making me very old. I don't know which.
So, Andy, what about you? What are you doing now and life kind of after Eurovision?
Well, as you well know, like all of us, the pandemic has put everything on a halt. I mean, I've got a Zoom performance with saxophonist Julian Smith. That's in March. I've got that coming up, and just writing some new songs, and just trying to be active in that respect, and working just out there on the bins again, just keeping busy. Really, the singing bin man is back.
That's what we loved, that's what the nation fell in love with you on X Factor. You were so genuine and likable. So it's great to have you on today. Daz, we spoke about you're hopefully coming back sorry, Niamh, were you?
Do you mind if I go next? Sorry, because I just...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
This chick has traumatized me, because I feed my neighbour every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm wondering why I'm not feeding them, right? So anyway, look, I still sing every day because I have to, and I'm still gigging. Not presently. This year has been a challenge for everybody, no doubt about it. I miss performing with people, to people, because that's a big part. But I'm lucky. I live with my husband, and he's a guitarist, and so we still play a lot of music, and we have great plans for what's going to happen next. And obviously, every now and then I come out of my little hidey hole and do something mad. But music will never be done, and I'm just working and getting on, and moving on to the next thing. So it's all about that, and I'm hoping to see the London party soon, Nicki.
Niamh, thank you so much for joining, and I owe you a chicken because it's probably overcooked now. So thank you for being so generous with your time today.
I've got to do the same.
Thanks,
Lovely
Andy.
to see you, Niamh. Loads of love.
Everybody stay safe. Stay safe, okay?
Yeah, Andy.
Lovely to meet you all,
guys.
See you in Bridgend.
Yes.
So, Daz, go back to you, Daz. Obviously, we know that you're hopefully going to be back on Eurovision, but what other projects are you working on or got coming up at the moment?
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of positive stories from the ex-contestants that I've been listening to tonight. It's been phenomenal. Sadly, that happened in reverse for me, because I got very stigmatized, this novelty act, and I now professionally write under a pseudonym, and I've had many hit records in America and Europe in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, and nobody actually knows I've done it because I've had to do it under a different name, which is sort of a sad side of Eurovision as well. I still love the competition. I also went into professional football management for a while when I was living over in Asia a couple of years ago, because obviously football is my passion. You can probably tell I always talk about it, and which is where I'm going to go in about 10 minutes training. So I sort of write under a pseudonym now, and do a lot of commercials, but I've also write hit records for bands in the States and things, and so that's what I do. But this year, I've put my head out of the sand and I've gone back to Belarus very, very quickly because I don't want to take up too much time. It's interesting because I get a lot of stick in the Eurovision press, and Jemini did as well, and I've never really listened to Gemma speak after all these years, and I've got to say full marks to her because it's interesting. That's the first time I've ever heard her speak since Eurovision. I'm not seeing the interviews. And the interesting thing, by the sounds of it, she only lives around the corner from me. So, Dana, if you want me to go round and give her a hug, give me a shout. I'll go and do it for you.
Do that, absolutely, Daz, and I hope to meet you in person someday too, love.
Thank you, love. Thank you.
Likewise, likewise.
And now the brilliant Terry, you know, a legend, as we mentioned earlier. What are you doing now and recent projects you can tell us about?
Well, as far as Black Lace the band, the Black Lace the band split up in 1981, but I continued as a sort of silent partner for another 4 years after that, but playing with a band called Stormer, who were signed to Ringo Starr label for quite a few years. And then it was just local bands around clubs and pubs in the UK. I'm currently playing with a band called Mr. Twister, or was, because this last year we've not done anything. But it's just local clubs and pubs, 100-mile radius from Wakefield, which is Brotherhood of Man Country as well. So we've got quite a lot in common. And also I've been doing a bit of writing, so you can't really see that. But it's and then came Agadoo, which sort of when it did come out and all the publicity around it, it took about 4 months to get actually heard and played on radio. But then all his lives at that period in time just all nosedived. We all ended up getting divorced in the band. It was just an absolute nightmare because of the TV and everything else that we're involved in at that time. Just threw us all, we weren't prepared basically for what came about. And then the company who promoted it went bankrupt, so we never got any money from it as a single, no money at all. So, but other than that, I'm still, I'm 69 in March, and I'm thoroughly enjoying listening to my son now, who's 18, and he's in lots of bands, and he's, to me, an amazing musician. He's a keyboard player, he plays saxophone, plays guitar, plays drums, you name it. I'm just knocked out by his abilities. So it'll carry on, you know, and I can't wait to get playing live again. That's basically it for me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now the brilliant Nicki French, absolutely love you. What are you doing now to keep busy, and what projects have you got coming up?
Well, last year when we were kind of not in lockdown but in restrictions, I was able to get back in the studio for a while. So I've been working on new tracks for a new album, and luckily Agent Matt, my friend, he said, look, let's preempt the fact that we could end up in another lockdown, get some stuff done for next year's Eurovision, because we couldn't celebrate my 20th year since doing Eurovision. So we decided, okay, let's go for 21. So I've recorded some new tracks that are with Matt Pop and a few others for mixes and so on. And I've done my vocals, that's it. So I'm kind of halfway through an album, and some new tracks for Eurovision are done. They're favourites of yesteryear. But apart from that, I was doing a theatre show. I mentioned Menopause the Musical earlier, and I was very proud to be part of Menopause the Musical 2 for the first ever run back in January last year. And we finished in March, as everybody had to. So we've been planning to get back in, originally it was going to be this January, then it was delayed to March, then it was delayed to May, and now we've heard that it's probably going to just have to be scuppered until next year. So like everyone else, I've been baking, gardening, doing things at home. I've got new marmalade ready for everyone if they want to.
Yeah,
love marmalade.
Wow, yes, there's Terry, me too.
The first lot was a disaster because I overboiled it because I was too worried that it would be too runny. So I added some brandy, and now all you can taste is the brandy.
That'll work. That'll work.
We look forward to that. Dana, you know, I listened to your most recent album. I know you did a couple of years ago. So it's great that you're back doing music. So is that what you've kind of been working on in recent years? And have you got anything coming up?
Well, if that was the album My Time.
My Time, yeah.
The one, well, it was released just about December of 2019, just before COVID broke. And so we did a little promotion on it, but we couldn't do enough. But that was an amazing experience, kind of like you, Nicki, come back in the studio. I never thought I'd do that again. And we were in a wonderful studio in Rome with amazing musicians. We'd Manny, who played drums with Tears for Fears, and we Nigel on bass. He was with Blondie. He wrote their song "Gonna Get You, Gonna Get You, you know that one.
Yeah.
And Mikey Rowe from Oasis, and we just amazing musicians. And I was petrified going in to do it because I thought, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do this, but I loved it. I loved the album. So we're going to pick up promoting that. And because it's just been my 50th anniversary, I've been asked to consider doing like a best of album that kind of spans the different. I was with Decca and I was with GTO, and then we did recording ourselves on our own label, light label. So we're thinking of maybe doing that, like a best of through the years, and releasing the original recordings.
And you know, listening to My Time, you know, your most recent album, My Time, it's great because you can always tell when someone's releasing music. You can hear passion, and you could just tell that you were so happy to be back, you know, and your voice was so incredible with it. And that's the great thing, listening to the album, the excitement comes through.
Thanks, Lewis. But I have to tell you, the first day I walked in that studio, and it was an iconic studio. It was where Ennio Morricone did all his recordings, and it's still got the old RCA labels on the doors, and it's in the basement of a big church, and you walk in this basement and all the people who'd recorded there, every genre of music. And I'm walking down this corridor, and I was going to meet the guys for the first time, and I mean, my heart was pounding. I just thought, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sing this, and I don't know what they'll think of me, and I don't know if I'll get through this. But when you start working, you're just musicians in a room, and it didn't matter how many hits somebody had or what they worked on or what they were doing, and we just bonded just as we have today. You know, we're just musicians in a Zoom, but we were musicians in a room, and I just grew to love them. And you know, and if I was really nervous or anxious, I'd say, guys, you know, help me through this, and they would. And I loved, once I got over that anxiety, I loved every moment of it, and it's like a little treasure of my 50th anniversary of Eurovision. So maybe it's also nice to know for all of us, when you suddenly think, oh, I can't do anymore, I'm not going to do anymore, because I'd come through a really difficult patch in my life, and suddenly someone says, I think you can do this. Whatever it is you're doing in life, go for it. If that door opens, walk through it, and you'll come through that door, and you'll feel stronger and better about life and better about yourself.
Well, it's so great to have you back, and I'm so glad that you're working on the music, because honestly, it was great work. Now, David, you mentioned earlier, of course, what you're doing now with Slimming World and stuff. There was a Scooch reunion at some point, wasn't there? Because I'm sure I saw that online.
Yes, as you can imagine, being in a band, getting 4 people who all do separate things together and do anything is a major operation. So yes, to backpedal very quickly, we got together in 2019 to plan something for 2020. So yeah, last year we kind of still did a bit of a nod and a wink to our 20, I can't believe we're 20-year anniversary. So we created a YouTube channel, and we put out a cover of Zoom, funnily enough. We also did a cover of the Eurovision movie, Volcano Man. Yeah. And then we did, to celebrate 20 years of For Sure, we did a mashup of a J-Lo song and Scooch song, which you would never put together. And then we kind of said, right, that's it for now. So the plan is the 20th anniversary new music that we have at some point might be heard for the 21st, 22nd, the next time the 4 of us could say, right, we're just not going to do anything in our lives for a month and just focus on Scooch. So there's something there, something brilliant sitting there. It's just, when is in the hands of the world that we live in. So one day.
Looking forward to hearing that. I really am. Mickey, what about, I know you said then that you're still putting your videos on Facebook and stuff. Have you got new music coming up that you can tell us about?
Yeah, just a couple of projects that I'm just trying to get through at the minute. I suppose one of the most relevant one that I'm working on actually just today, and I'll go back up to my studio, just a little setup at home here this evening again. Is a bunch of songs from a songwriter in America called Jack Tempchin, who would have written stuff for the Eagles, Peaceful Easy Feeling and tracks like that. I got to know Jack, we have a mutual friend, and we did some demos for some friends, and he really liked them, and he said, could you do that with mine? And so he sent us a bunch of his old demos that he just wanted revamped. So we've done an album, or I'm in the process of doing an album, kind of our twists on his older songs, and just giving them a kind of a new twist. And so that's been a really nice project. It's we're getting there, you know. COVID as well slowed it all up a little bit. I had to figure out how we're going to do it remotely, so I had to figure out how to record from home and stuff like that as well, and to send my tracks and do all those kind of things. But I've managed to do that, yeah. So that's kind of one of the things that I suppose is the most relevant thing. And just, you know, besides that, just, you know, writing away and trying to get my songs out there as much as I can, pitch to the people. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. It's a whole different kind of thing for me, you know, to take someone else's songs. And it's really nice because there's some demos that he did with Glenn Frey from the Eagles that have never been out, never been released. So it's kind of a nice privilege to get these sort of first chance at breathing new life into them, or breathing, you know, being the person who eventually the people hear them, you know, when he pitches them to others and stuff, so, or uses them for his releases. So yeah.
And I guess with lockdown, for you as an artist, that's actually a good time, I guess, to actually write and make music, because you've got the time to kind of sit down and put pen to paper and essentially, you know, make tracks.
Yeah, thankfully, I have a lot of stuff as well that I found that I put on the long finger. You know, like I had a project that I started in Germany about 2 years ago with a producer there. We spent about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks over and with him, just writing from scratch, you know. So I managed to get some of that all finished, you know, because there was a lot of ideas that we had, a lot of stuff that we didn't finish. So yeah, that's sort of when I finished the Jack project, I'm going on to that. So I have a few things in the lined up for, you know, recording wise and that. So just to keep me busy. And yeah, so it is a good time for that, but it's also very hard to keep yourself motivated, because I find that for me, it's the live aspect of it, is putting the guitar in the car, getting out and getting into the crew, and knowing that there's a place for your songs. When you take out the live aspect of it, it's the motivation is very hard then to find the motivation. And just trying to keep yourself positive and do something every day is, you know, musical is difficult, but you know, you just sort of got to get at it.
And what about you, Paul? What are you working on at the moment, and recent projects?
It's again like that. It's just great listening to everybody talking about what they've been doing, whether it's Mickey Joe on that project, and I think he's working with a friend of ours as well, Rob Burke. Dana with that new album, and I was just thinking back. I said, God, what am I doing? And I realized, yes, I've got a 15-month-old baby, so that has certainly changed things dramatically for us. But I mean, like that, I'm very lucky. The last couple of albums I have done have all been live albums, and the last record I did was a thing called Lights of Home. That was probably about 2018. But the beauty of things nowadays with internet and you know, social media and various things, you know, release dates are almost irrelevant now, because it's a bit like if somebody hasn't heard something, it's new to them if you post something or if you promote it. So like that, I never really got, like Dana was saying, I never really got the time to promote that particular album as much as I wanted to. And if and when we all get back together again, I probably will do something like that. That said, I'm very lucky with something. There's a project I'm working on at the moment, releasing a single, and it's a posthumous single. My late brother Derek is the. I had the good fortune to record him in my home in 2013, Myself and my brothers operate as the Harrington Brothers in North America and Canada, and we release music over there. So literally I'm putting the finishing touches to release that as a single in Canada in 2 weeks' time to mark his 5th anniversary. And thirdly, I'm also steeped insofar as that every week on national radio, I get to do really basically it's a one-song concert I do on national radio, which is News Talk. And what I do is I do an item that's about 6 or 7 minutes long called The Lyrics That Thing. I take a song and I just examine the lyrics of it. Myself and the presenter Pat Kenny chat about it, and then I have the spine-tingling, adrenalizing live performance every week. And it can be any type of song. It can be, you know, from a Bob Dylan song to a John Legend song to whatever. So that, you know, researching those songs each week and kind of rehearsing them and preparing them, that has kept my voice and kept my head a little bit together as well. So, you know, that, and that's about the size of it. I hope there's no point in trying to plan for me a studio album or anything like that again for a while, because through all of this as well, you know, working from home, I've been working when it's allowed. I've been working with a friend of mine, Graham Murphy, who's a Grammy-nominated producer. Whatever that means, I'm just that goes with the territory. But he's a terrific guy, and I've discovered, like Mickey Joe, I've come to this late. I've come to the recording at home thing, and that has been wonderful. So I'm tipping away at a few things and trying to keep myself relatively fit. I made a terrible mistake during the recent lockdown. I decided I love my pint of Guinness, so I managed to get a whole setup in my shed of taps and pints, taps and the whole and kegs and things. So that was marvelous until the novelty wore off. Now it's payback time.
Thank you. I mean, finally, Gemma, you mentioned that you're in a new band now. So I guess you're busy with that at the moment.
Yeah, sorry, I'll make this really quick because I've got to go. Yeah, Ultrasonics, which is a dance band in Liverpool. We started just before lockdown. Obviously everything's just been put on hold, studio time, everything. So as soon as we're out, hopefully, I know they want a single out later on in the year and just touring, not just in the UK, but in Europe. So I'm really excited about that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, yeah, we can get back to work on it.
Well, thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you so much for everyone for joining me on this show today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you've been so generous with your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I just say it's been an absolute honour to see everybody here and join in the chat. So thank you.
Likewise.